Here come the drums. This is the Mark Peterson Show, and I'm your host, Mark Anthony Peterson. This is the show where I bring you news, views, and opinions from a Blackish point of view. Today's show, Colin Kaepernick, the greatest American hero, or an Uncle Tom with a rocket arm. Now, let me bring you up to speed for those of you who don't know who Colin Kaepernick is. Colin Kaepernick is an American football quarterback who is currently a free agent. Free agent means that he is not associated with a team, has not played in a couple of years, but he did play 6 seasons with the San Francisco 49ers. 6 very successful seasons where he went to multiple NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. Well, 2 seasons ago, Kaepernick decided to take a knee against police violence, which was escalating against blacks, particularly black young men. And if you didn't know, Colin Kaepernick is black. So he decided to take a knee in protest to the police violence. Take a knee during the national anthem, which set off a hailstorm on both sides of the table. Players took a knee in support, also making light of the issue, the police violence. Fans and owners came crashing down on those who took a knee, calling them unpatriotic, and said that they were disgracing the flag and the troops. An argument that I am still yet to understand, but feels like a very good PR agency got ahead of that and put that spin out there to try to curb the effectiveness of the take a knee protest. That's what it feels like to me, but that's a side story. After Colin's contract expired, he was not rehired in the NFL. And recently he won a collusion lawsuit against the NFL. So now Colin's back, holding private workouts and inviting teams to come and check him out because he wants to resume his duties as an NFL quarterback. And there are those who stand against him, who are calling him out for wanting to play football after taking a knee and having very public stands as the spokesman for Nike and the shoes he once wore. In fact, Colin came out against a 4th of July version of a Nike shoe that would have Betsy Ross on it. He claimed the shoes were oppressive, and Nike backed away. So now he's back holding private workouts, and there are those many analysts in the sports world who are standing up and saying, Colin, you're doing a bad thing. That you're an Uncle Tom with a rocket arm. And of course, there are others on the other side of the table who are saying he's the greatest American hero. He is standing up for all the ideals for which the Constitution is built around. I just wanted to weigh in because the people who are standing against Colin are probably the same ones who admire athletes who took similar stands. Right? They admire them now because the media tells them to admire those athletes. But during the time of their protest, they were treated the exact same way as Colin Kaepernick. Let's take you back, way back in the Wayback Machine to 1967. A young Muhammad Ali was the heavyweight champion of the world, and he lost his title after a protest of the Vietnam War and a refusal to enlist. Ali was not protesting boxing. He never said he wanted to stop boxing. He was protesting a war that he did not find moral. Ali was arrested for not enlisting and was found guilty of draft evasion. He was stripped of his title and had his fighting license suspended. So he couldn't box if he wanted to box. Ali didn't fight for 3 years. Kaepernick's been away for 2 years. Now I want to remind you, for those people who love Muhammad Ali, the guy who floated like a butterfly and would sting like a bee. Those of you who quote the Ali lines, who've gone and seen his exhibit at the museum in Washington, D.C. All of those lovers of Muhammad Ali who hate Colin Kaepernick, I'll remind you that the polls at the time showed that a majority of the people disagreed with Muhammad Ali's stance. Updated polls around his death show that a majority of them now stand with Ali. Fortunately for Ali, in 1971, the Supreme Court overruled his conviction, and in 1975, he regained a heavyweight championship title, knocking out my man George Foreman in Zaire. So now that you've refreshed your memory on Muhammad Ali, hopefully what you're seeing with Colin Kaepernick is running parallel to that story. A guy who stood for something by taking a knee, never protesting his job, but using the platform that his job provided him to make a moral statement. That's exactly what the heavyweight champion of the world did, Muhammad Ali. How is that any different? And the fact that Colin Kaepernick now wants to come back and play in the NFL is no different than Muhammad Ali coming back and reclaiming his title in 1975. But I guess a lot of the people who stand in the way of Colin Kaepernick, these so-called sports analysts, skipped history class, particularly black history, and could not make that comparison. But if you need another one, let's go back to 1968. Mexico City Olympics. Tommy Smith and John Carlos. After Smith won the 200-meter race and Carlos coming in third, the two men stood on the platform, the metal platform, during the national anthem and gave the Black Power salute. They were booed for giving the Black Power salute and expelled from the games. Now, both Smith and Carlos went on to play in the NFL, but they were banned from the Olympic Games. How many of you had that poster of them giving the Black Power salute up on the wall in your dorm in college? I would bet many of the people who are criticizing Colin Kaepernick had that same poster. And I dare say they claimed they would make the same gesture. But today, when given a chance to defend someone who took a knee for an issue that needed to be discussed, they're questioning his motives. I know you think players are the only ones who protest. They aren't. In 2010, Robert Sarver, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, protested the state's new immigration law, a law that aimed at stopping illegal immigration across the state border. In response to this new legislation, Sarver had new jerseys made up for the team. The jerseys bore the name Los, L-O-S, Suns, the Suns. Los Suns. Spanish. That was his protest. Now, he wasn't reprimanded for it. And many of you probably don't even know that was a protest. But yeah, owners can protest too. Let me give you another one. 1996, refused to stand for the Star-Spangled Banner. No, wouldn't stand for the national anthem. Said he saw the flag as a symbol of oppression and that he thought the United States was an unjust tyrant and therefore in conflict with his new Islamic beliefs. Now, David Stern was the commissioner at the time, and he was not having it. He suspended him for a game in 1996. But they worked out a compromise where Abdul Rauf would agree to stand for the national anthem, but he would be allowed to bow his head, close his eyes, and recite a Muslim prayer. When his contract expired, no team picked him up. So much like what is happening to Colin Kaepernick, he was frozen out of his profession for having his beliefs. So I guess you know where I come out on the question of Colin Kaepernick as greatest American hero or Uncle Tom with a rocket arm. I'm coming out on the side of greatest American hero. And it's not because he's a football player. It's not even because he's black. It's because he took a stand. It's because he stood for something and put everything on the line. That's what the founding fathers did. They stood for something, and had they lost the war, they would have been drawn and quartered, had their entrails pulled out, burned, hanged, decapitated, and had their ashes spread all over the world. They stood for something. They put it all on the line in order to make a difference. And that's why it's important to honor what he's doing and what he has done. But many will wait for the media to tell you when to like Colin Kaepernick. And that's fine. I'm not waiting. Just as I didn't wait to like Muhammad Ali. And it's not because I want to watch him play football. I stopped watching football many seasons ago. Gave me many more hours to do a lot more stuff in my life when I gave up 3 hours of my Sunday or my Saturday or my Thursday or my Monday and dedicated to making myself a better person. So it's not because I want to watch him play. Guys, thank you for tuning in and listening to my rant. I had to jump in and talk about this issue because there's so many people jumping on the bandwagon to criticize Colin Kaepernick. So I wanted to throw a little gas on the fire to get things stoked in his favor. So I appreciate you listening. Yeah, I hear those drums too, and it's time for me to get up out of here. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Hey you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.